say. There we go, coming into the screen over there. Notice the rounded edges on the side. I'm going to get out of the vehicle just so that I can show you the track properly. But I know it's a male because of its size and because it's got these rounded edges to it on this side here. So very rounded track, quite big. If I put my fist in it, should be about as broad as my fist. And he's walked off in this direction, which is, I haven't seen any tracks that are going down the road. So my feeling is he's actually walked into our territory, which is nice. It's exactly what we were hoping to find. So now it's just a question of deciding where he is, basically. I'm just plugging myself back in here again. So now it's a question of just finding out where this particular animal crossed in on our side. And then taking it from there. I'm just busy scanning here. There his track is there. Right, I think we're going to turn down this road over here. Male leopard quite enjoy walking in straight lines. He's come down this road onto this path a bit, but I think we're going to carry on in this direction over here and see if his tracks don't come out on this road. They're not the freshest fresh tracks. I think if anything I would say it's probably from early last night. But nonetheless, we have a male leopard on Djuma, which is a good thing. So now it just comes a question of me adopting a thought process and with a little bit of luck. So feel free to cross your fingers for us. Wish us what luck you can. It's not an easy thing finding a leopard, not unless they're being shouted at by some monkeys or being shouted at by some impala or some kudu. What we are going to do is definitely switch off from time to time to listen in this area. Impala and kudu, monkeys, squirrels, they will all give away the presence of this animal. We're just going to take our time to make sure that we're not missing any clues here. Give us a nice chance to listen. We've got some zebra and we have a kudu. On our right hand side, some general game that is not playing with from a viewing point of view. Let's go back and see if we can get a better visual of these animals together. It'd be quite nice seeing zebra and kudu together, I think. us some time to listen to the bush around us. There we go. Some zebra. These are Burchells or plain zebra. They're constantly waving tails. They almost seem to never ever stop wagging their tails. Excuse me for the protracted silence, but I'm just using the opportunity to listen to the bush around us. See that shadow stripe between the bold stripes is diagnostic of the Burchell zebra. There's a couple of different zebra species that you find in Africa, but none of that shadow stripe that you see there. That is just for the Burchell zebra. And they are fantastic. And we have some kudu off on the left hand side. And some elephant. I can hear crashing around in the valley. It's all happening over here. The zebra are slowly moving off into the bush, and so have the kudu. We spent some few minutes listening to the bush around us, and now what we're going to do is carry on looking for any signs and tracks of that male leopard. As you can see from those black and white stripes, not much to do with camouflage. There's so many hypotheses floating around as to why zebra are black and white. The one that I seem to enjoy the most happens to be the one to do with heat control, that there are more blood vessels underneath the black stripes than there are underneath the white stripes. And what happens is you have a temperature differential. You have the sun heating up the black stripes and creating a lot of heat, and you have the sun relatively cooler on the white stripes, and so heat is sucked from the black into the white, and therefore is radiated off of the body. The temperature differential, which I thought was quite an interesting hypothesis. It has flaws in it, but it's the one that I enjoy the most. Alrighty, let's carry on looking for this leopard. Now, I'm expecting his tracks to actually come out of this junction somewhere. We have tracks of something, but I think it looks like a hyena more than anything else. Yep, tracks of a spotted hyena. Let's go along here a little bit. Let's see where his tracks actually come off. This area is perfect for leopard. It's a very thickly bushed area. Lots of general game here. Once we establish a direction that this leopard is traveling in, it'll be a little bit easier to decide which road to take. Now, there's quite a vast network of roads and systems out here. I don't quite know how many kilometers of roads there are at Djuma, but they are very well laid out. Patches and blocks of bush between each road. Keeping my eye peeled. Waving the flies off of my head. Amazing, you go through these areas and you have no flies and you pick up these particularly persistent flies. We just got a vehicle in front of us, just going to be giving them an update. You're going to be panning away for a second. Good morning, folks. Hello Stefan, how are you? Fine, thank you. We are live, but we have got male leopard tracks coming in this direction from that junction.
I've been looking at tracks a little on the way here. I haven't noticed any.
Okay.
So it may still be in that block.
All right. I don't think
there was
they've...
an aardvark that crossed the road last night. That was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Junction. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, at the next junction.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can go and have a look.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think if we haven't seen it, then if no tracks cross over this way, there's none at that junction there, but it's been driven over on this side. We're going to have a look at that junction and see what you're saying. Nice big male. Awesome. Nice. And some wild dog tracks as well. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you very much.
Down here as well, just after the junction.
Right. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry to keep you panned away like that while we were just catching up. That was Lee. Both of us are in this area, and it's best to have two people looking for a cat like this. But we're just swapping some news. He says at the next junction there's some aardvark tracks, and that is definitely something that I'm going to see if I can show you. And then we are going to carry on with the search of this leopard. Obviously, we need to find the time to stop and to listen to the bush. So something that gives us an opportunity to do that, like aardvark tracks, is always good. And we maintain very good relationships with our colleagues out here. As much as what we find stuff for them, they find stuff for us and keep us updated on the radio. And that's how we get you what we see for a lot of the time. Alright, so let me just carefully look where these aardvark tracks are. It's going to be interesting to see if I can show you what they look like. Aardvark are not typically seen very often. see if I can find him. Right, so we've got some fish tracks here, but I don't know if these are clear enough for me to show you or not. They're not the clearest of aardvark tracks on the face of the planet. I'm going to show you them anyway. It'll give us a turn to... Andrew, you must just say when you can get them in view.
I'm not even sure what they look like.
Andrew says he's not even sure what they look like. They are these ones here. Let's see. Yep, the ones in the bottom right hand of your screen. That is an aardvark track. Doesn't look like much. Oh no. Now an aardvark or an ant bear, let me show you what one looks like. I'll make it a bit easier for you to picture what made that track. So this is the track that we're busy having a look at. It's just in very soft sand. And the only thing that we're seeing are these two plus the third toe. And then the names. Let me see if I can show you a picture of what one of these look like. There we go. That is an aardvark or an ant bear. There's their coloration. Long sticky tongue digs into termite mounds to eat termites, and I'm glad that they're living in this area. It shows that you've got a very healthy system when you've got animals like this. Depending on who you speak to, aardvarks are almost the proto-animal. They share very similar skeletal structures to the very first mammals that were ever described. Very similar to how that is. Alrighty. Close the book. Sorry?
Looks like a bit of a kangaroo type head.
It does look like a bit of a kangaroo type head. Nice long snout. Used to stick into termite mounds. Lee is going to be going down that other road, so I think it's a good idea that we go down here. Maybe we can see a fresher track of one. Still keeping our eyes peeled for this leopard. Do notice that we're finding big male leopard tracks in the same area as we're finding an aardvark. I suppose a good idea now would be to look into trees to see if we can find any dead ones. Yeah. Track the aardvark and we'll find the leopard. Okay, so we've got some impala down there, so they're not looking too worried about anything. Okay, so keep my eyes open here on these game cards again. funny enough, just got a bunch of hippo tracks, and have a look at this spray mark in front of us. So on that bush over there, Andrew, there is where a hippo has gone and marked some territory on his way past. Hippo belong to an order of animals called Hippomorpha, which is the same order of animals that dugongs and manatees actually belong to. And when you chase or when you research the ancestry of hippos, you'll find that they're not terrestrial animals that have gone back into water to escape predation or whatever. They're actually just marine mammals that have gone from estuaries into rivers and up from rivers. And this fact is important when you look at some sign like this that you're looking at on the floor, because hippos have never had to evolve glands for marking territory. They don't have any glands in their skin which they can use to paste, like for instance a hyena would, or for like a mongoose would. So what they have to use is they have to use their dung. So they reverse up into a bush, they defecate and flap their tails, and this would spray the bush with dung, and that is then as a signpost to other hippos from a territory point of view, and also just from a social point of view. You very infrequently find hippos passing by a bush like this that's been marked without inspecting it quite minutely. Like babies will sometimes stick their heads in there and have a good old sniff around. This looks like just one hippo that has come past. He's decided to mark some territory over here. See if we can get a bit closer and I'll show you. And you can have a look over there and see the little pieces and bits and pieces of dung. Quite difficult to see actually. There you can just see it. Some fresh hippo dung been sprayed out there all over this bush. But on that note, I do think it's a good time to go back to Jamie. Apparently she's en route to the Birmingham boys, which just crossed back over into our side again. So she's almost there, and I think it would be nice if you go and join her from that side. So myself and Andrew are going to carry on with this leopard. Hopefully we've got an update for you soon. Until then, enjoy the show.
Welcome back everyone, and we have just received some really good news. It seems as though the Birmingham boys have not completely crossed out of Arethusa. They have gone flat right on the boundary. And we're just approaching that site, and now hopefully they decide to stay fairly close to us. We just have to work out exactly where they are. So something's definitely shouting. I'm just going to stop. Baboons. And that is almost definitely in response to those lions being there. We are very close to that sighting, so it's almost certainly the lions that's causing that response from the baboons. I just have to work out exactly where they are. The baboons are going to tell us pretty quickly. Here we go. baboons are shouting just off across the boundary from us, probably at the other two. Oh no, we've got all 5 Birminghams here, right on the boundary, so that was very convenient of them. I'm just going to shift around so we can have a proper look at them. The 2 are lying in the shade in front of us, but let's have a look at these 3 first. So it looks as though we've got the younger 3 off here in the shade, which must mean that Blondie is one of the ones off to the other side. Definitely looking a little bit scratched up. Looking at the patterns of pink on the nose is quite a useful way of trying to get a rough estimate of their ages. They probably are around 4 years old, these younger ones. And still with rather full bellies. They don't look as though they've been struggling for food, which of course we knew, given that they chased the Nkuhumas off that buffalo carcass and didn't even really bother to feed on it 2 days ago. So these 3 boys have done very, very impressive things in terms of how much they've pushed into the Matimba's territory at the age they are. And this doesn't necessarily spell the end for the Matimbas. This pride takeover could go on for a while, and the Matimbas still haven't shown their fighting spirit, but it's entirely possible that they still will. And they do have age and advantage and experience on their side. So it's not necessarily the end of the Matimba rule. But if they did find themselves seriously under pressure and seriously struggling, Nicole was wondering if it would be possible for them to go and rejoin the rest of the Matimba coalition in the north. And that's difficult to answer, but personally I don't think so. The Matimba coalition in the north has been separate for quite a long time, as far as I know, a good couple of years. And they are separated by another male coalition. I think it's the Salati Lions or the Salati Coalition between the Matimbas in the south and the Matimbas in the north. And they have been separate for such a long time that it would be very interesting to see if they would still band together and acknowledge each other. And the reason that question does become difficult is that it's not uncommon for coalitions, very large coalitions, to split up and then come back together, especially when faced with a threat. However, usually you find it's just that the split has happened within the same territory. Some of the males just dominate more in one area and some dominate more in the other, and they come together in that way when they have to. And he looks terribly sweet lying on his back like that. It's hard to imagine that he would be one of the lions responsible for the chaos that we've seen over the last few weeks. So Nicole, my answer would be no, but I say that hesitantly because it's always very, very difficult to predict exactly what animals are going to do. I don't think so. I think they've been apart for too long. But if it's true that the Matimba coalition in the north is under pressure from a separate younger group of males, then I guess it is possible. But the Matimbas are not gone yet. They still are very, very large, very powerful lions. And they are much, much older than this group of 5. I still haven't heard any reports from the guides as to where these males are, or the Matimba males are. I think they're still south towards Hoffman's or Chitwa Chitwa. It's very useful to have your brother or your cousin's head to just rest your feet on. It doesn't seem too bothered. And male lions make such an interesting dichotomy while you watch them, because they are incredibly affectionate to each other. The bonds between these coalition members are unbelievably strong, and they're far more affectionate than they are towards cubs or lionesses within their pride. And yet they are capable of serious destruction. Just want to have a look at this particular male. Ah, that is the big male, and he is limping quite seriously. I think probably that joint got rather stiff while he was lying down. He just stopped to urinate in front of the car. I'm trying to work out where the injury is. He does seem to have a very swollen left front ankle. Lions clearly are not particularly fastidious about their urine, and that's probably a purposeful approach, because he will have scratched his feet slightly in there and the urine did run down between the pads of his paws. So as he continues to walk in whichever direction these boys are going, he will carry that scent very strongly with him. So Christine, you've missed out a little bit on the safari action that's been happening over the last few days, and you were wondering if it's true that the Birmingham boys have killed the triplets or the Styx cubs that we've been watching over the past couple of weeks. And I'm sorry to have to tell you, Christine, but they did kill 2 of the cubs, the Birmingham boys. The male, we think it is the male cub, that's not confirmed, but at least one of the cubs survived and ran with the mother further south towards the Matimba males for protection. So there is at least one cub alive. The female Styx Pride member did very, very well. It seems as though she was on her way to fetch the cubs to bring them back to the rest of the Pride, and she was ambushed then, and she put up an incredible fight. Unfortunately, didn't stand much of a chance against these 5 young male lions. They did kill 2 of the cubs, and one of them carried around one of the cubs for quite a long time. I don't think he fed off it in any enormous way. I think he was just quite confused about what he had done. It's probably the first time these males have ever committed infanticide. It's just acting on a very, very strong instinct. So 2 of the cubs have been killed. The other is alive and somewhere south towards the Matimba males. Hopefully we'll be able to be kept safe by that mother, and she'll probably try and keep them very, very close to those Matimba boys. The Matimba males moved up into the area where the cub was killed almost immediately, but they didn't pursue the Birminghams any further than that. So yes, our 2 little cubs have been killed. It was a very sad moment, but unfortunately just part of the natural process. That 3rd cub is very much at risk, depending on how the situation plays out between the Birminghams and the Matimbas. And they did also, if you'd missed out on this, Christine, about a week or 10 days before that, they did actually kill one of the Nkuhuma lionesses as well during a scuffle on Torchwood. And in that time, one of them did consume a little bit of the body, not very much. They just fed off her ever so slightly. And it's not typical, but it's not unheard of for male lions to feed off the bodies of the lions that they've killed. I know that the Mapojos were fairly famous for it. It's unclear how these Birminghams are going to progress over the next few days. Over the next few months. It is uncommon for them to eat there, but it is also a show of defiance and a show of authority for them to do so. And we can't forget that these boys are very, very inexperienced in terms of the actions that they are carrying out at the moment. They're acting purely on instinct, and they are sort of approaching this whole thing from a learning perspective. And I've had some rather unexpected news about the Matimba males. So I mentioned that I thought that they would be hanging around further to the south, but Asif tells us that, who has updated us, that the Matimba boys have moved further north into Manyaleti. This is certainly, to me, fairly unexpected news. I'm not sure who was then calling last night when I heard the call and response. It was definitely male lions calling. Maybe this group of Birmingham boys had split up. So thank you for that, Asif. I will try and get some news from some of the other guides in that area. They would have probably had to cross through Buffelshoek to get there, which would have been a very, very brave move, or bold move on their part, since the Birmingham boys were up in Buffelshoek. I'm going to reposition and see if we can get a slightly better view of the other 3 who are lying down in the shade just off to my right. And in the meantime, I'm going to send you back across to Steph for an update on how his leopard tracking is going.
Welcome back to this tracking excavation. I just spotted a bird that I want to try and see if I can show you. Myself and Andrew are currently busy with the top here. Have a look at that grandpa of an, and I just want to see what bird this is. Actually, I can't actually see it. It just looks like something that we haven't ID'd before. And of course it's just a normal fork-tailed drongo that has managed to stump me. I'm just sitting in an atypical position. But have a look at this enormous tambweti. That's something that isn't very typical. That is literally one of the biggest tambweti trees I have ever seen in my life. And is probably close on 400, 500, maybe even 600 years old. That tree has been sitting in that particular place for 600 years watching can you imagine the stories that have come out of this tree? Can you imagine what it's seen? Real beautiful tree. And protected. So not only is it protected in the fact that this is a game reserve, but you can't cut down Tamboti trees anymore, not without a license and a harvesting license. One of Africa's precious hardwoods, and is finally enjoying the protection that's needed. So I'm glad it survived. It was widely used in the furniture making industry for a few years, making inserts for jewelry boxes and for chests. It is a very, very fine-grained, beautifully grained, brown, rich brown wood with these white veins in it and a beautiful smell. It's called an African cedar, in actual fact, is the word, and just an enormous tree. Anyway, a bit of an update on our leopard tracks. Myself and Andrew went back to where we last saw the leopard tracks. Here we got that was a grey duiker doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing, diving away. Doing exactly what leopard tracks quite often do, is disappear into a block with no sign of where they come out, not on a game path, not on anything. So now we're just circling that block to see where they come out. The tracks are not crisp fresh, so I'm expecting them to come out of the block. If you do hear a bit of a squeak, it is Wendy just protesting at something. So she's got a few years on her and is allowed to protest from time to time. So now, just keeping my ears and eyes open. Any signs?
Welcome back, and as you can see, we have repositioned to have a look at this particularly large member of the Birmingham boys who has just decided that he's tired of looking at us. And I do think that in terms of behavior, as he is the oldest member, he might be the one who is pushing for the most dominance and starting all of the trouble that they've been causing. And we do apologize for the signal trouble that Steph was experiencing, which is why we're back quickly with me. And there you can see there's the Birmingham boy with the very injured ear. It is looking a little bit floppy. Doesn't seem to be causing him too much in the way of pain, but it certainly looks as though it's been chewed on, and there is a deep cut at the back. And that was almost certainly from the Styx lioness defending her cubs. And just looking at the size of their feet, I know that I keep saying this, but these boys are going to be absolutely enormous in the next 2 years or so. They are going to be a fairly unstoppable force, unless another larger coalition comes into the area, or they split, which has happened in the past. It's interesting how prior to their invasion, if we can call it that, we had such a good grasp on the different lion dynamics and where the prides were and what they were doing. And since then, I heard about 4 lionesses who were up at Sydney's dam. That was about 2 days ago, and we had the Birmingham boys crossing through right in front of our camp, making straight for them. I have no idea which lionesses they were. And then, of course, that lioness that Steph had yesterday afternoon on the sunset safari, who I believe, though I could be wrong, I believe was one of the Styx lionesses, the female that was mating with Hairy Belly a couple of weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago. When we entered this sighting, we heard lots and lots of baboons shouting, and I said that that was probably in response to the presence of these lions. And I actually think I might have been wrong about that. I think there might have been something else moving through the area. They were a little bit further away from these lions than I realized, and they've since gone quiet. And I do wonder whether there was not a leopard wandering through, unfortunately, just to the west of our boundary. I'm right on the edge. The boundary of Arethusa to Elephant Plains is basically marked by a big drainage line, and we are just on the one side of it. These boys certainly look as though they have settled in for the day, and hopefully they will still be here for the sunset safari. Then at least, even if they do get up and move, at least we've got a rough idea of where they're going and what they're going to be up to in the next day or so. Just moving, possibly just moving. Just the sun was encroaching a little bit on this large male. And from now silent baboons, Steph has found some vervet monkeys, who are also a very, very important warning system in the bush. So we will head back across to Steph and catch up with you all a little bit later.
And from sleeping cats to some monkeys, some vervet monkeys. This is I think this is the male, and he's at a slightly more elevated position because he's keeping watch over his troop that's feeding off in the grasses around us. And these are quite interesting little monkeys. You know, we don't see them that often on the show, mainly because the bush that they like to live in is usually quite thick and adjacent to drainage lines. We don't always have roads right next to drainage lines, but definitely my little friends in the bush, these guys are supreme leopard finders, and without them really we would battle to find as many leopard as what we do. Although that wouldn't be the case today. I seem to have developed a knack for not finding leopard over the last couple of days. They are running circles around me. Not too bad, my luck will change. Now, coming back to the vervet monkeys, one male per troop, And the troops can number anywhere from sort of 8 to about 16 animals, and are really a transition species. They're not truly arboreal monkeys like a spider monkey would be, or a tree-loving monkey, and they're not true ground-loving monkeys like a patas monkey would be, or a chimpanzee, for instance. They are sort of half and half, and very, very adaptable because of that. They live on these fringes between the riverine forest, or for the riverine cover, and the bushveld, or the grasslands on the crests around here, and eat a wide variety of different seeds, fruits, leaves, flowers. I've even seen monkeys eating insects. I saw one catch a mouse one day. Oh, there's one sitting in the open over there, Andrew, just on the branch. There's a youngster sitting on the branch over there. Another youngster that's busy walking on the ground. The monkey that we were just watching, sitting in the tree, he's keeping a weather eye open for predators. Leopard and eagles, big eagles, will take monkeys. Crowned eagle, martial eagle, definitely take monkeys of this side. What a funny morning it's been this morning. I must say, we left this morning with lions roaring in our ears, myself and Andrew, and we were followed the lions roaring to our boundary. We found two different sets of fresh leopard tracks, one heading off our boundary, tracks of a female, and then male tracks coming into our area. But they were driven over, and I'm not too sure where they went from there. We haven't quite found out where he's come out of the block, if indeed he's come out of the block. Nice elephant sighting, and now we're ending off with this vervet monkey sighting. And on that note, I think I'm going to be sending you back through to Jamie to go and finish off the show with those lions. So from myself, Steph, and Andrew, we just want to say thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you on this afternoon's Sunset Drive. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon. Couple of hours. Bye.
Welcome back, and we have just shifted position ever so slightly just to have a really, really good look at these three young Birmingham boys, all looking into the worse for the wear, definitely carrying the scars of their conflicts over the last few days. And looking uncomfortable. And it will be very, very interesting to see if these boys will obtain some of the legendary statuses of coalitions of the past. And I'm thinking specifically of the Mapocho males, as well as the Majingis, the Salati coalitions, all very, very big male lion coalitions that have made a considerable stamp on lion genetics that will continue to affect the lions in this area for a very, very long time to come, many, many years. And they are going to have their work cut out for them. They're in the area, and they're to take on the timber lions, who unfortunately I think are reaching the end of their time as rulers of this particular area. It is the natural way of things. Unfortunately, it's going to be very sad to see, but it will be extraordinary, and we are so fortunate that we are in the position to be able to follow this story from start to finish and see exactly where these Birmingham boys will end up being. And although it's going to be brutal at times, they are going to end up, if they do succeed, fathering a long line of very good-looking, physically, genetically healthy line of cubs in the future. And they will be very, very staunch protectors of that group. So, a wonderful sunrise safari. I have loved having you all on the back of the vehicle with me. And it is, of course, fantastic to have VM back on board, to have him back around. So a big, big thank you to Tara and Jess in FC, and thank you guys for all of your time spent with us. It has been a really, really interesting sunrise safari. That Ellie sighting was quite delightful. That baby elephant was absolutely adorable. And now at least the Birmingham boys have settled down to spending the day just within our boundaries, so we get to see them for the last few seconds of the sunrise safari. So wherever you are in the world, have a fantastic day or a fantastic evening, and catch us later for the sunset safari, where we will definitely at least be trying to find out where these Birmingham boys have been going and what they will be up to next. So we'll see you in just a couple of hours. Enjoy the rest of your day.